And then you also have storage under here as well. It actually handles more like a regular car. It's still a good time. Welcome back everyone to another episode of Eat Sleep Drive, and this time we're driving the 2021 Honda Ridgeline. This truck has been given a complete makeover, mainly to look more rugged. This is more or less the same truck that we've seen mechanically from Honda, and they consider it their thinking man's truck, which is sort of shots fired on a lot of truck owners, but I'll get into why they think that and put it in a more tactful way, I think. But let's start with the exterior, because that's really the big news here. They're trying to make this appeal to younger buyers, and I think overall they've done a really good job of making this look more muscular and a little more rugged, because it is a little bit capable, as you're going to see today. So we're going to look around this exterior, and then we're going to take it for a drive on and off-road. The front is completely new. So from the A-pillar, which is this, forward, they completely redesigned everything. The fenders, the hood, the front fascia is all new, and they're really trying to square it off. As you can see here, if you look at the last generation car, it was a lot more rounded here. They do that more for aerodynamics previously, but now they're trying to give it more of a rugged look. A little bit blacked out. This is the HPD package, Honda Performance Development. You get the bronzed out, aggressive looking wheels as well. As we round to the rear of the vehicle, not much has changed back here. The rear bumper is new. They gave it dual exhaust, but everything else for the most part is the same. There's a few things that make this truck unique, one of which is the unibody construction, which we'll get into later. But this tailgate back here is quite interesting. Operates like a regular tailgate, but you also have the ability to barn door it, which is pretty cool. It is locking, and then you also have storage under here as well, which is a pickup truck first, is my understanding. You can see I have some crap down in here, and we've done a bunch of driving all day today. As you can see how dusty this thing is on the exterior, and it's good to know that this is like a sealed area. None of my stuff got super dusty, but a nice little storage compartment, sort of secret storage compartment that once again locks. Stepping into the rear of the vehicle, you have this seat, which can just be raised and lowered as easy as that. I'm gonna step in. I am 6'1", and I have just enough leg room here. It's a little tight, but not too bad. And there is ample headroom back here, so that's nice. Pretty Spartan back here. Not exactly a place that you would want to spend a ton of time. Stepping into the front of the vehicle, I would say one of the things that I find that I'm not a huge fan of are the seats. The sport model, which this is with the HPD package, is right around $40,000 all in. And these cloth seats are very basic, and they probably will hold up. But for $40,000, I would kind of hope for something a little better. You can opt for leather seats in an upper tier model, so keep that in mind if seat material is a big deal for you. I'll go ahead and turn the car on here, because it is hot. We're in the desert, and I'm cooking. So here you have what Honda is doing with basically every one of their vehicles. Buttons for drive select. Not a big fan of these. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Maybe it takes more getting used to, but I had a TLX before this and this, which used the same basic system, and I had to do a 3-point turn the other day in the middle of a road, and it was kind of a fiasco. Overall, it's very basic in here. They haven't done much to redesign the interior. They have changed some colors here and there, but most of the changes have happened on the exterior. This infotainment system here, which as you can see is all dusty, looks quite old, to be frank. The resolution is old, but it does have like Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, and Bluetooth audio, which is just what I would recommend using, because this system is pretty ancient. Also worth mentioning, this huge storage area down here, which is in the center console. You could put your Merce in there, and then on the doors you have a little bit of storage compartments here and there. Could fit a small water bottle, not like a huge Nalgene. Before we go for a drive, make sure you hit that subscribe and bell button if this is the kind of content that you enjoy. Driving new cars in fun places. Here we go. taking you to the Angeles Forest, which is a place that you probably wouldn't think to go with a truck to, because it's a whole bunch of twisty turns, as you're gonna see. But the reason I decided to bring you guys up here to check out the Ridgeline is because what this truck offers is very unique in the market. And it's something that really no other truck manufacturer is doing, and that's a unibody construction. So most trucks are body on frame, meaning there's a frame and then you slap the body on top of it, the truck body. And a traditional truck has leaf springs typically in the rear with a solid axle. And while that is the preferred method for, the most robust as far as towing, or even in an off-road situation to a certain extent, this, however, the Ridgeline, is a unibody construction. Unibody being that there is no frame, no traditional frame, it's all one piece. While it isn't the best in the form of like most rugged and capable of towing the most amount of weight, what it does do is offer you a superior ride quality, especially because this car has a independent front and rear suspension. That's the big difference as to why you would buy the Ridgeline, because you are someone who does more street driving than anything else. You're not doing crazy off-roading, and you're not hauling like huge payloads. It has a truck bed where you could do runs to Home Depot and do all your 90% truck things, but it isn't going to tow 10,000 pounds. This tows 5,000 pounds. A lot of people will fault this because it's loosely based on the Honda Pilot, which it is in some ways, but Honda makes some important distinctions, added rigidity, they changed up the suspension a lot. It's a lot more robust than a Pilot. So it's a bit unfair, but it is in some ways based on that. And once again, that's not necessarily a bad thing. This thing rides better than any other truck I've been in. It is so soft, doesn't jar you over bumps. Like a lot of cars, because of the solid axle, a lot of trucks with a solid axle, if you hit a bump mid-corner, it's very like jostling to the vehicle. You don't have that at all with this thing because it's got an independent front and rear suspension. It actually handles more like a regular car. And you're not buying this to go canyon carving. I don't take you here with any delusions that you're going to come here and keep up with like sports cars. If your main use case for a truck is that you're going to drive it daily on a daily basis, mostly on the street, and do some occasional, like I said, light off-roading, or maybe hauling things or towing things that aren't that heavy, then you should definitely give this truck a look, because the ride is great, as I mentioned, and they've put the sort of tried and true 3.5 liter V6 in here, which I'm actually really impressed with. Motivates this truck really well. It's actually a lot quicker than I thought. Not that I thought it was going to be ridiculously slow, but it's actually pretty quick. And it's mated to a 9-speed transmission, which is pretty good. I just put my foot down. There's not a lot of gear hunting, and that's a big concern when you start to get in transmissions with like a bunch of gears. Anything over 6, sometimes you have a case where it's just always looking for the right gear. And they certainly do that for fuel economy reasons, but you don't have that here. You can see I'm getting 17.4 miles to the gallon. Not super like indicative of most people's driving, to be honest with you, because I live in LA, have done half of those miles just literally in stop and go traffic in LA, and then now driving up into the canyons, gaining elevation. So that's probably about worst case fuel economy you can expect. And the only thing I'll say about the driving that I don't like is the radar cruise control. I can't really use it right now, but on the highway, it sort of drives like have you ever been in a car with a bad driver where they're constantly on and off the gas? Like they're almost like a nervous driver. That's what this radar cruise control feels like. It's really weird because I just got out of the Acura TLX, which Acura, is owned by Honda and is essentially a Honda product. So you would think that the radar cruise control would be the same or operate the same. It worked way better in that car than in this. So I don't know if it's just a programming thing and they can update that or what, but I'm really disappointed with the way the radar cruise control works in this. It's just very on and off throttle, very jerky. And even if the car in front of you is going at constant speed, it's constantly speeding up and slowing down. So I'm not a big fan of it. The lane keep assist as well. It kind of just bounces you in between lanes. That's kind of par for the course with a lot of systems these days. It does, all those things come standard on this, which is different than most other vehicles, notably the Tacoma. Now we get to have a little fun and show kind of the more off-road and rugged capability of the Ridgeline. I don't want to just lead on that this is like the most ruggedly capable truck. There's better trucks for that, but what we're going to show here is what the car is capable of and what is not. So I'm going to go into sport mode here, and then I'm going to go into sand mode. You have a couple different options here: normal, snow, mud, and sand. I'm also going to turn traction control off, which I think when I was driving before, I don't think it goes like fully off, and we'll talk about that. But let's set off here. Super rutted area. So the car doesn't really like to get sideways, as you're gonna see here. So being that this is a all-wheel drive vehicle, it's not an optional, see, it like really kicks in there when you try and get the car sideways. And how many people are really doing this, like racing around in a sandy course? I'm not saying it's not fun. It just doesn't like, it starts like cutting power when you get sideways. You should see, I hope the camera's picking it up in the back. We're getting some pretty good rooster tails here. It is so dry. So you can feel it cutting power there when you start to get crossed up. It's still a good time. It's capable out here for sure, but the all-wheel drive is much different than your traditional four-wheel drive that's selectable, right? Because in most trucks you have a two-wheel drive, solid axle in the rear, and then when you want it to be four-wheel drive, you put in four-wheel drive. See, it keeps killing power there when I try and basically initiate a drift, which, who is drifting? The Ridgeline. I know this is kind of silly, but we're having fun. The biggest downside of this vehicle is what you're going to see right here. I don't know if you could hear that, but this thing has a very low front overhang. Like the approach angle is not very good. And a lot of people point that out on Instagram. It's more geared towards fuel economy, of course. That's why they make it so low, to try and get air around the vehicle instead of under it. So yes, it's not a rock crawler. It will scrape on, some high terrain, more or less. But in just doing this kind of stuff, where you're going to go to a trailhead, where you're going to go hiking, and you're just really just going to do some dirt roads, like it's going to be more than capable of doing that. Here are my final thoughts on the Honda Ridgeline. No, this truck is not for everyone, but Honda asks, and they continue to ask, what do you really need a truck for? As in, what are you really going to use it for? Not what do you think you're going to use it for? There's a huge discrepancy there. And Honda, being the big company that they are, does a ton of research, and they discovered that 98% of small truck owners don't tow anything at all. And then the remaining 2% that do tow, a fraction of a percent tow anything over 5,000 pounds. So it just goes to show that this truck can meet the capability of a lot of people, or a lot more people than you think. And you shouldn't necessarily just discount it because it has a unibody construction and not a body on frame. So give it a look if you're interested in small trucks. I'm not saying it's for everybody, but it's a pretty good vehicle. Eat, Sleep, Drive TV on Instagram. Consider hitting the subscribe and bell button if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace. While Honda hasn't done anything new really for the mechanical bits of this truck, this is still a unique truck in the segment and is for a certain kind of buyer. And it still rings true. Even with the more rugged styling, I think it looks way better, no doubt, to my eyes. And I think most people will as well. They're trying to appeal to a younger generation of buyer. They made a point to talk about under 40 people being like their target demographic. And those type of people, you know, definitely value the way something looks and want to be seen in a good looking vehicle. And that's what this is. And even though it's not all new from a mechanical perspective, it is something that you can't get in other trucks. It rides extremely well. It's super quiet and it's very practical. I like all the storage options in it. It's just a unique vehicle. And Honda's done a good job of embracing that and not trying to make something that they're not. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Eat Sleep Drive TV on Instagram. Make sure you hit that subscribe and bell button if you did enjoy the content. And I'll see you guys on the next one. We'll leave you with a departing shot of Angeles Forest. And then you also have storage under here as well. It actually handles more like a regular car. It's still a good time.